All right, sorry about that. The video cut off before, but again, I'm not going to read this whole slide out loud to you, but I do want you to look at a couple things. So he says, we were thrown together in such a way that we get better acquainted whether or not we want to. Rustic farm lads mingle with Polish and Italian boys from back of yards. Unlettered mountaineers from the West mingle with high school graduates and college men from the centers of culture. So that shows how multiple groups were coming and working together, and it actually ends up kind of getting rid of some of that prejudice that people had about each other. So that's a positive aspect about the WPA and the CCC, besides the fact that they were just getting people more work and money. Role of government expands. So the New Deal broke from the previous tradition of laissez-faire government, where it was kind of just let the people do what they want, etc. A lot of people did say that it was socialistic, and it is socialistic. A lot of the programs were something where multiple people were paying into something that might only benefit the few. Social Security took money from everybody, but really only benefited people who either were, again, disabled or who were elderly. But it still did help. Moving the country forward. So pump priming, which remember is where the money goes in at the bottom level, and then hopefully they spend that money on goods, combined with government directly hiring citizens, called many people to call FDR a socialist. And in basic definition, he really kind of is. Socialism is where the government controls businesses instead of individuals, and they did do a lot of that. But a lot of people believe that without the New Deal programs that he set up, that the post-World War II boom may not have been possible. And here's the New Deal in review. So here are some big things that there will be questions about on the test. The FDIC, which is the Federal Deposit Insurance, and the SEC, which is the Security and Exchange Commission, both increased Americans' trust in banks and the stock market. Without that, we may not have been able to get our economy moving again. They set up the Federal Housing Authority, which is the FHA, that's still around today, that gave low-interest loans and increased home ownership for those who were poor. The Wagner Act gave workers the right to join unions. The minimum wage increased the purchasing power of minorities because even if they were black, they still had to be paid a minimum of 25 cents an hour. So that really helped. The New Deal also banned child labor and helped with unemployment insurance. That meant that kids had more opportunities to go to school and be educated instead of just having to grow up to be a worker. Social Security helped lower poverty rates for the elderly. And the TVA, which is the Tennessee Valley Authority, and the REA, which is the Rural Electrification Act, bring electricity to both the Southeast and the Northwest, areas where we didn't really have much electricity before then. So those are all huge impacts that really change the way that America looks. And then our I think there might be one slide after this. We're almost done. It was called a welfare state after this. A welfare state is where the government pays people or gives out money based on your struggles. A lot of people, especially people that are anti-government involvement, do not like this idea. They think that if somebody is poor, that's their fault. If somebody is unemployed, then they should get a job. So there are benefits to having a welfare state where you hopefully, if there's problems, you can help get those people back on their feet more quickly. But some people do end up becoming dependent on that welfare state and end up taking that money when they don't necessarily need to. So there are many programs that led to this. And what a welfare state is, you need to know this definition, is it's where government takes responsibility for the welfare of the poor, the elderly, the sick, the disabled, and the unemployed. So, lots of different programs, again, Social Security, unemployment insurance, that all helps this kind of a thing. Before the New Deal, that job was mainly left to charities and local government. This role in government is still debated today. We can't necessarily agree on whether or not that's something that the government should help with. Restoring the environment, FDR felt that she could continue the work of his fifth cousin, Teddy Roosevelt. Remember, Teddy Roosevelt worked hard to grow our national parks. He more than doubled them just when he was president. So with the CCC, that helped the environment by replanting trees and by building safer hiking routes, things like that. They also worked to study and conserve soil. 12 million acres were set aside for national parks by FDR, and the TVA helped prevent flooding, but it did also hurt aquatic life because some animals were killed in the building of the dam, even though that was not necessarily on purpose. And that is the end of the slideshow. So please check on the Edmodo page for your questions. You just have to answer those 3 questions in your notebook. I'll check them on Monday, and then you're all good. So I hope that was interesting, and please make sure you listen to this at least hopefully once, maybe twice, before we have the quiz on Tuesday. Thank you very much, and I will see you in class Monday.